trunk of a date tree, and he says date trees, just like I was just saying. Standing on a solitary fort, save those buttressed with hard rocks, and Thabir, why, when the first onrush of its deluge came, Thabir was a great chieftain, wrapped in a striped juba. In the morning, the topmost peak of Al-Mujaymir was a spindle's world, covered with all the scum of the torrent, that flung over the desert of El-Rabiq its cargo like a Yemeni merchant unpacking his laden bags. In the morning, the songbirds all along the broad valley quaffed the choicest sweet wines rich with spices. The wild beasts at evening drowned in the furthest reaches of the wild watercourse, lay down, drawn bulls, following. Well, anyway, it's really lovely poetry sometimes, even in translation. Now, this may not be doing it justice. Let's just take a quick look at this translation as we have it in. It's so hard to follow things here. Let's see. I'm missing about a week or two of this class. But better off. Okay, here is the Ode of Tarifa, page 53 of the Kritzig material. He gives the whole Ode of Amr al-Qais. Beyond the reef of sand, recalling a house and a lady dismount where the winds cross, cleaning the still extant traces and colony between the four famous dunes. But his is a different translation. So you can compare the translations. This is by, the one we just read is by Arbery. And this translation is by, if I can get this page turned here, two other people, Herbert Howarth and Ibrahim Shukala or something. So I'm not sure it's exactly the same. It's very hard to find the one totally in the other. But there's a lot of it here anyway. Let me see if I can pick up where he's got his three dots there. Well, here it is towards the end. Canabil sees the uplands of Canaan, chasing the ibex, erasing less than stone. Only the major peaks, the bare spindles, cap the deluge. It leaves tendrils like gray wares of Yemen, its sands were drunk at rim of valleys. The thrushes tell the sun spice folly until evening and far off like springs of autumn. And yeah, that's where it did end. So it is different translation, but very similar in terms of the length of it. That's Amr al-Qais, love poem, followed by nature, praise of nature, beauty. Started with a nasib. Let's see if I can find another one who starts here with a nasib. Let's look at the next poem that we have here. Ob Labed. Sites of dwellings are these, over which since they were last inhabited many along, this is from Kritzig, page 56. Many long years had passed with its full tale of sacred and profane months. They have been gifted with the showers of constellations of spring, and the rains of thunderclouds have fallen on them in torrents and drizzles. And from every cloud at night and morning cloud that covers the sky and evening cloud, his thunder peals answer one. And he goes on like that about rain and so on, about the traces that have erased the traces. And then he finally gets to the point here. And so I stood questioning them. But why should we question the hard and lasting stories that have no clear speech to answer this? They are tenantless. Yet the whole tribe was once here, but they set out from there at dawn, and naught was left but the trench and the thatch. And the women of the tribe filled thee with longing when they set out and entered within the cotton curtains, the framework whereof creep. Litters all hung round, the woodwork of which is covered with coarse cloth, of which is fine curtains and embroideries. These women in bands, the deer of Tudik were on the litters, and the gazelles of Watra with the fawn flying around them. They were started, and the mirage fell away. And from them, as if they were tamarisk on huge rocks, the place where the valley of Bisho opens up. And then he switches gears. Does my camel resemble such a wild ass, or is she like an antelope that has lost her calf by the wild beasts? And so now he's talking about his camel, about his dogs, about hunting, and then more about storms. It's quite an exercise. But finally, he ends up with a description of his dogs hunting antelopes. So it's really about the poor antelope that's being tracked now by hunter packs. She becomes distracted and wanders about the pools and swide for 7 nights coupled with 7 long days until when she'd lost all hope, the udder dried up, which all her suckling and weaning had not drained. She heard the sound of a man from place of concealment and startled her, a female antelope. For man is her bane, and so she ran off thinking that each of the 2 openings, what lay behind her and in front of her, was like to be dreaded, until when the archers lost hope, they let loose trained dogs with hanging ears and stiff collars on their necks, and they overtook her. And she turned upon them with those horns of hers, like the spears of Semhar, in sharpness and length, to keep them off. For well she knew if she did not keep them off, that her death was at hand among those decreed by fate. And of them Wolf was run through and killed and drenched in blood, and Blackie was left in the place of his onset. These are the names of the dogs in the pack that have been set on her. And then he goes back, with such a camel then, with the glittering sands dance, the noonday, and the hillocks put on the robes of the mirage, I would accomplish my desire, not falling short of it, though through doubt or because revilers revolve me for any desire of mine. So they keep switching gears, different subjects. That was a picture of a hunt from the antelope's point of view, and then back to his praise of camels. So that was Labid. Let's see if I can give you Tarifa here. Zuhair, by the way, just looks like he's the prophet himself. He writes poems just like the Quran. Do not conceal from Allah whatever is in your breast, hoping it may be hidden. Allah knows what is concealed, and either is postponed or put in a book or stored away for the day of reckoning, or it's hastened and punished betimes. So this Zuhair is very close to the time of the prophet, so others are writing material just like you get in the Quran. In fact, it's very difficult to see the difference between that and the Quran. So let me see now. He's got Labid's poem in here too. You can read that, but I don't see any point that we should read it a second time. We just looked at it, and he doesn't have the material about let's see, about the dogs. So I think that's really the most interesting material. I seem to be missing some material here. It's very hard to, well, let me pick it up. Let's see what I've got over here. See if I can find my Tarifa here. So, what's he got about Emerald Al-Kai? It's 2021. Tarifa, 21 to 22. So, he says, but when grief assails me, straightway I ride off, mounted on my swift